Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Coach McVay Show, live from Cal Lutheran in Thousand Oaks. I'm JB Long. DeMarco Farr still decompressing from a middle seat trip back from
Wow, that is...
6 hours.
No.
6 hours. Tight.
That's
Discipline.
your fault.
Oh, I know. Big time. I should have checked in earlier. No doubt. You're right. Thanks.
We're ahead of the game, but welcome, Sean. How you doing?
Thank you.
Good to see a smile on
Who
your
were
face.
the people that had to sit on the outside?
Look, I know I'm going to be comfortable. I know I'm going to be fine. It's you guys that have to watch out. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, the Rams are 5-1, and good to see Sean laughing because I have to say you were as upset after a comfortable win in which you could rest starters as I've ever seen you.
Yes,
on Sunday.
there's a lot of things that had contributed to that, JB, but I wasn't proud of my behavior yesterday, but I do, you know what, I won't ever apologize for the high standards, the expectations that I have for our football team to do the little things consistently right throughout the throughout the game, whether it's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and there was a lot of good things. I think when you really kind of take the emotions out of it, but I do want to see us do some things at a higher clip because it's a good confidence thing. It's only because of the belief and the expectations I have in our guys, but what I would say when you really reflect back on it, what you don't ever want to do is minimize how difficult it is to win in this league. You don't ever want to lose the joy in the journey, the enjoyment for how hard it is to do those things that our guys did yesterday. And so for that, you say, okay, maybe loosen up a little bit, buddy. But I still think, hey, the positive thing is, man, we're grateful for the win. Tough, hard-earned win against a really tough physical football team. Now let's see if we can learn from some of the things we didn't do and then really build on the things that we did do at a high level, which I thought the turnovers were instrumental, and then being able to capitalize and turning those into touchdowns was a big part of why we were able to secure the win in the fashion that we did.
Does it do anything to you when I say once you got going offensively, you started scoring points, which means starting slow?
Sure.
Yeah.
That does, and because that's been a focal point, and there's a couple things, and the main frustration is with myself, because in a lot of instances we've got the right kind of guys, we've got such great leadership, our quarterback is so special, and it's really making sure that we're putting guys in the best positions to have success, and some of that is in the decision making with the plays that we're actually calling and that I'm calling, and so I felt like I could have done a better job getting us going. On the positive side, to have a 28-point second quarter is big that you can explode on people like that. And what you're saying is, all right, imagine if we can really sustain this, even though you're not minimizing the difficulty that these defenses present week in and week out. And nothing is ever easy, but I think there were some plays and some things that we could have done at a higher rate to maybe have a little bit more success earlier on, especially in the first quarter.
When you have the second quarter that you did, we're thinking at halftime, all right, two things. Secure this win and get home healthy. It didn't exactly turn out that way, as we found out on this Monday show.
It didn't, and that's unfortunate because, Johnny Munt, you talk about a guy that has quietly been a really important part of this football team, whether it's in our two tight end sets, being able to spell Tyler Higbee, who's gotten banged up a little bit in these first 6 games, being a foundational part of our special teams, and then just what he brings to the table with his demeanor, his disposition, his physicality, his toughness, and then just the overall production. So he tore his ACL, really unfortunate, covering a kick. We're going to miss him for the rest of the year. Somebody's going to be asked to step up. We're kind of working through who that looks like that'll be. And then at the running back position, you lose Jake Funk where he tore his hamstring, probably going to require surgery. He had done a really good job, in the kicking game, being a foundational part of the special teams. And then there was a lot of confidence that if he did have to play running back, we knew that he could come in, step in, and do a nice job. And unfortunately, both those guys will attack the rehab the right way, and looks like their years are going to be over.
Wow, that's big. That's like
big.
Missing a lug nut on a tire. That's very important. Not the most important, but
I blame my dad. Never really taught me. That doesn't mean much to me.
How to change a tire? Yeah.
They call it AAA.
Big time. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's. I guess you would be AAA. How to overcome a guy like Munt? He knows so much about the offense. He can do so much. That's not easily replaceable.
No, it's not. And he's. You guys even go back to last year when he's been asked to step up and take on bigger roles. When Gerald was down for a couple games, and he just delivers. And all he's done is deliver on his opportunities. He's steadily progressed every single year. Wes Phillips does such a great job with that tight end group, and Johnny's going to be missed in a big way. And I'm really bummed for him because of the amount of work that he put in. That's always the thing you hate the most about it, is watching these players that put so much time and energy into getting themselves ready physically and mentally for these games, and then to have it taken away because of a physical injury. it's hard.
I know Jacob Harris is listed as a tight end on the roster, the rookie, but when you watch pregame, it's kind of a two-man band. At least it was with Munt and Higbee. Does that mean that it's Bryson Hopkins' time potentially now? You have Kendall Blanton on your practice squad as well?
I think those are all options that we're going to explore. And part of it is, okay, let's think about it. Let's see how does that affect the way that we utilize Higbee, if it's Bryson, if it's Kendall, if it's Jacob Harris. And so there's a lot of things that we're kind of in the early stages of working through JB, but hopefully over the next 24 to 36 hours as we're kind of starting to get the early stages of our game plan, there'll be some clarity in what we feel like is best for our team moving forward.
I keep saying this every week. I'm really enjoying watching your O-line.
Me too.
The communication and what they're doing, picking up a hat on a hat. I thought protection was great. I thought some of those sacks could have been get the ball out a little bit sooner.
Totally.
But I thought the O-line was great on game day.
I did too.
Yeah.
And that's a really physical front. I mean, you look at some of the size and some of the athleticism that they possess across the board up front, even off their edges. I thought our offensive line was outstanding. And I thought Rob Havenstein had one of his best games that he's had this year. But really, across the board, you mentioned it, guys were physical. I thought they competed well in both phases. And I did think some of those sacks where, maybe some longer developing plays, that internal clock can go off a little bit sooner. And best part about Matthew is the ownership and the accountability that he has on everything and the standards that he has for himself. And I think he would say the same thing.
DeMarco and I, our jaws hit the floor as we played this clip forward and backward just before this show. The 2nd and 12 second quarter that led to your first touchdown. Protection, to DeMarco's point, was pristine. And where Matthew put that football with Cooper Kupp in the center of the field, that blew my mind.
We showed that in the team meeting today. We had actually hit him on that same exact play for 30 yards on the first drive of the game. Mm-hmm. And we came back to it, got a very similar defensive structure. Darrell Henderson does a great job stepping up, putting his face on a blitzing linebacker. And then you could see, the guys up front kind of help level that off. But Cooper being able to separate away from Peppers, but there was about a foot of space that you could put that. And when you freeze it and it's a perfect extension and throw, it was outstanding. That was a great throw.
That's a three-pointer. No doubt. I mean, I think the thing that got us was when he threw it in relation to where Cooper Kupp was and where he caught it. I mean, that's two guys on the same page.
Totally. And it's just, I think it's one of those deals when they just have a great feel and that rapport that I think has been, illustrated through the first 6 weeks of the season, especially with those two, but really a lot of our guys, all of our skilled players as a whole. But Matthew and Cooper were outstanding there. But to be able to even have some of those plays develop, you need the protection like you talked about a couple minutes ago, and it was definitely great there. And also Darrell did a great job picking up that internal pressure.
How about the 4th down touchdown? How'd you know that you wanted to go for it there and that was the look that you wanted?
Yeah, I think it was, based on some different things and just kind of the preparation. I thought our coaches did a great job of really putting together a good plan. The 4th down, I thought we were going to punch it in on that 3rd down run. They did a good job making the stop. And, it's a 7-3 game right there. You're feeling like, okay, does 10-3 do something or do we have a chance to go 14-3 based on the look, what we had thought, and the confidence in our players? And I think there are some times, I'll always try to look at myself critically with some of the game day decisions, and I think there are some more opportunities, particularly on 4th downs without being reckless, that you can give Matthew and our offense another shot. And that was one of those that we felt like, there was a play that would be a good answer based on what we anticipated defensively right there. And it always boils down to the confidence in the players, had confidence in their ability to execute. And again, that's a situation where Matthew and Cooper delivered. But if you really look at it, they're bringing an edge pressure. Corbett and Havenstein do an excellent job of fanning out to that edge on kind of a little rollout, and we were able to deliver. And I thought that was a big momentum shift to get up 14-3 in that situation there.
The best way I can describe your running backs are disciplined and explosive. Is that fair?
That's a good explanation. I think Thomas Brown would like that. I think Darrell Henderson played one of his more complete games that he's had as a Ram yesterday, where thought you saw all phases of his skill set, which there's no limitations. I mean, you look at some of the tough, hard-earned runs. You look at some of the shake and the twitch that he was able to display in some of the offset gun runs. You see him catch a sluggo route for a touchdown. You see him put his face on protection. What else do you want from the guy?
Dude. I mean, I thought the route, the touchdown, the hands catch, oh, my God, that was, yeah.
And you know what was fun is it was a very similar play. At practice, almost a similar look. Guys, made a great throw and catch, and that had been something that he had shown that he's more than capable of. And Matthew did a great job of calling that play and getting to it, and he and Darryl connected, and again, great protection up front on that one as well.
He messed around and showed us. Now we're going to expect it. How about that? Is that fair?
Yeah. It was great.
Given the context of the Funk injury, I wonder, can you roll with those two, or did that 2018 game in Detroit where Malcolm got hurt kind of change your thinking on that forevermore?
I think you want to be careful. I think, Buddy Al's a guy that you would look to, he was already helpful on special teams in some games earlier. He's a guy that I think Thomas has really put his arm around, and he's continuing to get more and more comfortable. He's a candidate, but I think 3 is a smart number. I think it's a real fine line, and that's a great point. We had Farrell Cooper taking a couple snaps in some of those halfback situations in that game, but you do want to, I think 2 is a little thin for us.
Let me get to Cooper Kupp's second touchdown, and the question is about what your temperature is on no-look passes, right? They're kind of all the rage these days among NFL quarterbacks. Where can they be productive? Where would you rather just take the look pass?
Yeah, I think, here's the best part about when Matthew does it. It's always to influence and affect the defense in a way that's positive for us offensively. Mm-hmm. It's not just, I'm no-looking you to be cool. I mean, he has an intent behind what he's trying to do. And up to this point, he's been pretty automatic on it. In that particular instance, you could see a really good, instinctual, productive player throughout the course of his career in Logan Ryan. It got him to kind of attach to Higbee. I think that was a reason why it probably went for a touchdown as opposed to maybe a 6-7 yard gain. And so that was an instance right there where, kind of gave him a little bit of crap because he left it a little bit behind Cooper. But that's one of those deals as a coach. You just get the hell out of his way, and he knows what he's doing, and you just say, you know what? Nice job, buddy.
Kind of like Aaron Donald.
Yes.
Like Aaron can get away with it. Greg Gaines, you don't. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I just think these guys, it's one of those deals that he's had a feel for. And I think, it's like you probably never had to coach some of these special running backs how to work edges on people, or these special receivers how to really just naturally get parallel, double up, and work an edge on somebody. They just kind of have an intrinsic feel for it. And certainly he knows when to activate it. Like I said, there's an intent behind when he's doing this. He's only doing it if he feels like it's necessary to help the effectiveness of the play. And there's been a couple off the top of my head these last couple weeks, whether you go through the Seattle game or this one. I can think of 3 off the top of my head that were all really productive plays for us.
Filthy, filthy.
Yes.
When we left Seattle, one of the themes we were tracking is how much pent-up potential there still was in this offense. And what I mean by that is your shortest touchdown drive had been 70 yards, right?
Yeah.
You're averaging something like 78-plus per touchdown drive. Well, yesterday you kind of flipped that script. You get 4 takeaways, the turnover on downs, and they produced, I think, at least 21 points just from that change of possession. Is that more of what you're hoping for, where complementary football produces short fields and the opportunity to get points quickly?
It is, and that's why even in the early parts of the game, we get the 4th down and 1 stop, and we don't get any points out of that drive. So I was disappointed in that, but say, okay, let's be positive. Let's look at it through, the lens that, if the defense is going to get what I equate to as 5 turnovers, if you include the 4th down stop that we had, and then you get the 3 interceptions and then the 1, sack fumble that Leonard Floyd ends up recovering after Obo forced a fumble, and you turn that into 21 points, that's good team ball. And we've talked about that. That's absolutely something we want to see. I think when you look at it from an offensive perspective, the 3rd downs the last couple weeks, we got to be better, but I was pleased with being able to finish drives in the red zone, to be able to do some of those things, get a couple 4th down conversions and turn that into points to where, you put the game out of hand, and that's what the good teams do. If our defense is playing like that and the offense can capitalize on those types of momentum shifts, that's going to be a really tough thing, for opposing teams to be able to handle if we can kind of put it all together.
Finally, some love for the defense. Yeah.
Defense was great.
Sacks and picks all day long.
They were awesome.
Yeah.
And really, that's the kind of stuff that I think our guys expected to play with. And they've done a lot of really good things. I think the standards are so high, that you want to see, all right, hey, that's more in alignment with what they're looking for, what we're looking for, what we expect. You don't minimize how difficult it is to produce the types of results that they did yesterday, but I thought yesterday was a perfect illustration of practice, performance, and preparation equal in game reality. The way that the guys approached it, I thought our defensive coaches with Raheem and the defensive staff did a phenomenal job of implementing a plan that takes advantage of all of our players' skill sets, gives a lot of problematic things for the offense to deal with, but it also is maximizing each player's skill set. And I thought that was definitely on display yesterday.
I love sacks, picks, don't get me wrong. I thought the best sequence was the 4th and 1 stop.
Yep.
And then you come right back and stop them on 3rd and 1 on the next drive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just tough defense.
It was. And that 4th down and 1 stop, I mean, you look at across the board. You see the way Greg Gaines does an excellent job being able to take on the center and get a knockback. You see the way Ashawn Robinson takes on the double, Jonah Williams, and then here comes Troy Reeder and Taylor Rapp to the party. And that was a huge stop for us. We had to have it right there, and that's where I want to see, hey, if we're really hitting on all cylinders as a team, now we go turn that into a touchdown like we did on 3 other takeaways that our defense got.
What looked or felt different about Taylor Rapp yesterday?
I think he's played really well throughout the year. I think he maximized his opportunities. I think he did a good job in the underneath part of the defense on the second level, really, showcasing his skill set that's pretty special. Short space quickness, nose for the football, great feel for the underneath zones, understanding, and expecting some of the route concepts that they activated. Both of his picks, that second pick that he had, that's a lot harder catch than people realize, where you're catching the back tip of the ball behind your eyes. And then I love this ball security when he ended up getting the offhand cover. But I think I think he got more playoffs, and then I think he delivered on those.
I think guys like him are dangerous when you have a lead.
Yeah.
Those tweener safety types. I mean,
Totally.
they're good enough to play the run, but they're dynamic in the pass game.
Yeah, he's the equivalent to the Joker type of players. All the things that I was so excited about Darryl displaying yesterday as a running back, and the versatility where you can put him outside the core, in the core. He can protect. He can be productive. When you hand him the ball, I think that's what Taylor is. A variation of that on the defensive side. That Joker that can do a lot of really good things, and you can utilize that skill set in a manner to put pressure on offenses.
Last week on this show, we talked about replacing Darius Williams, and Double D was one of the names that you kind of hinted at might play a role. It seems like he's always been kind of the 54th man on this roster recently, just maybe the odd man out in a deep corner group. What do you think of his performance yesterday?
I think he's a great story in resilience, belief in yourself, just continuing to battle, scratch, fight, and claw, and then when you get your opportunity, you deliver. And he did that yesterday. He's a guy that it's, you guys know when you're around him, man, this guy's got a zest for life. He's incredibly intelligent. Where he truly is an extension of the coaching staff on the field. I thought he did a great job throughout the course of the week, really communicating across the board. And he's got a versatile skill set that enables him to be able to play inside, play on the outside, played 50-plus snaps, did a really good job. And I think you're only going to see him build as he gains that confidence. He's always been confident, but I think, when you have that tangible evidence of playing in those games that count, making the plays that you would expect yourself to make, and I think he's only going to build as he utilizes that experience, to benefit himself.
I bet you kind of let your coaches coach, but how does a coach like you help a corner on your own football team? Because you're looking to attack the other corner. So how do you help your own guys?
I think it's the same thing that you just mentioned, DeMarco. I've always really tried to be intentional about spending a lot of time with the defense so that you can learn about it. You can make sure that you're educated on all parts of the game to be able to, speak the same languages that Coach Evero and Coach Morris and Coach Cooley are speaking to Double D. But also, hey, these are some things that offensively people would look to attack, or here's where there's some weaknesses in that. And so I think it's more about that dialogue, that it's kind of that give and take of, all right, this is what we would do, or continuing to praise them for the jobs that they're doing a nice job with, and by having that understanding and appreciation for the language, the techniques, the fundamentals, everything that we're trying to get done defensively.
Appreciating that the Giants were dealing with some adversity at tackle yesterday. It seems like there's some edge rush traction here as you settle into this group that you're going to be riding with until Justin Hollins can be back.
Yeah, I think Leonard Floyd has been outstanding, JB. I think he's, you talk about a guy that plays with a relentless effort, motor. You look at the first play of the game, what a great job, being able to force that fumble, get a sack right away off the jump. I thought he was disruptive throughout the whole game. You really felt his energy. He played at a really high level. And then Obo and Terrell Lewis, really Obo in particular stood out to me, being able to consistently apply some pressure. That Justin Hollins loss a couple weeks back was a big loss for us. He had really, put himself in a position to really solidify that spot opposite of Leonard. Now we're being asked to, guys are being asked to step up. Thad Bogardus has done such a good job of helping accelerate some of those guys' progression, and they're playing a lot more snaps than they ever have. They're both young players that I think are only going to continue to get better and better, but both Obo and T. Lewis did a nice job, and I thought Jameer Jones came in and showed he belongs. He's made his presence felt on special teams, but it's not too big for him. The game makes sense to this guy, and he definitely looked like he belonged in the snaps that he played toward the latter part of the game.
One more step, it's a sack. Obo off the edge and a three-point is dynamic, and I thought T. Lou was one offsides penalty away from having a hell of a day.
Yeah, I thought so too. And those are things that you can learn from. Where you have a little bit more tolerance, he's so long, he just leaned forward and he's offsides. But, you can't have those types of things where you give somebody a free first down. He'll learn from it. He's a really smart, sharp, conscientious kid, and he's going to only improve as well.
He made the play.
I know.
He knocked the ball down.
He
yeah,
did.
just line up on side. You're good.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to draft time, when Les's group tells you, hey, we've got a prospect in Robert Rochelle whose comps are so narrow that we can put Jalen Ramsey in that category. First of all, what are you thinking? And then how does he get from an early training camp injury that may or may not have set him back to where he is now as your number 2 corner?
Yeah, well, anytime that you throw out that comparison, that's a lot because we know how special Jalen is. But I think the traits are really intriguing. And like I've said over the last couple weeks, this guy is wired the right way mentally. He's tough. He's a physical player, and it's not too big for him. I think one of my favorite things as a corner, and I remember even talking to my grandpa about this back, when you start really taking an interest in the game. The great corners, it's an occupational hazard that you're going to give up some completions, you might get beat, but the best ones have the ability to say, can't wait for my next opportunity to respond, and they don't let that bleed over into the next play. He's got that mindset and that mental makeup that I think is so instrumental in the success of those players that are, in essence, on islands out there. He's only getting better. He's got a great feel for the game. And then, you can see a couple of those things that maybe it hasn't gone exactly the way we wanted. Very correctable. He understands that he can give you that feedback, but he's a guy that's only going to get better. He certainly looks the part. I thought it was great for him to be able to make that pick. His mom was there for her to be able to see that. And he's a guy that I think has a really bright future, JB.
I mean, he's so big. It forces a great throw, just to beat him if he's in the right position.
That's exactly right.
So 5-1, you have to feel pretty good. I mean, how do you feel about where you are right now as a team, a unit, a group?
I feel good. What I really like, DeMarco, is you go back to that Arizona game. I think you have to inevitably be able to deal with some adversity. I like the way we handled the short week against Seattle. Wasn't perfect, but we found a way to get it done as a team. Then you get a little bit of a mini bye, and I thought the guys had a great week of preparation. I thought that was especially on this display defensively. Thought the offense did a great job getting rolling, particularly in the second quarter. And then I was really pleased with the way they were able to control the second half, slow the game down, eat up a lot of clock, and kind of just speed up that game. And then I think special teams is going in the right direction. I think Ben, Scaronek has really done a great job of making his presence felt. Thought Terrell Burgess showed up, made a couple tackles. I thought our overall operations are improving. I think we can continue to do a good job in some of the return ops that we have. But all in all, I think we're in a good place. Definitely not where we want to be, but that's always a good thing. That's why you practice, and that's why you have to have that steady improvement throughout the season. And we're looking forward to attacking a great opportunity to go against the Lions this week.
Before we get to that game, is there anything you can tell us about the Hecker to Scaronek play that won't cost you money here tonight?
Yeah, here's what my understanding, and again, I haven't spoken to the league, was I think the refs felt like we were running a play that was to try to deceive the opposing team, meaning that Ben did not go inside the numbers, and you're basically trying to run a variation of a hideout play. That wasn't the case. He went inside the numbers, went outside. That had been something that their punt return operation has shown is they're going to give you a 9-man rush look. They're going to single up the opposite gunner and have a returner back in the middle of the field, which means there's nobody on Ben. And Johnny recognized it, as did Ben. We all know that Johnny is a very good athlete that has the ability to throw the football. He recognized it. We ran that play. They saw it a little bit differently, but there's video evidence that we have where Ben was he was inside the numbers. I saw it during the game. A couple other people did as well, and we have video confirmation that confirms those things. But I like that we didn't allow that to bother us enough to where, hey, you keep it moving. Things aren't perfect. I make mistakes. There's certain things that get missed. That was definitely one of those, in my opinion, and that's kind of how I saw it.
Those "you were right" FedEx packages you get in your locker sometimes, yeah, they kind of help.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
They kind of help.
No doubt.
Thank you for acknowledging.
Yes.
We move on. But I thought that was great. So that was just something that happened. That wasn't you trying to get back in the game or get something going.
No, that was a look that, and again, we'll always have some different types of things that take advantage of Johnny's skill set. But that was a situation where they left him uncovered, and Johnny recognized it, delivered a good ball to Ben. I thought he did a great job of getting vertical because he caught it short of the sticks. all for nothing.
As we get to week 7 and the Detroit Lions arrive at SoFi Stadium, do you have to coach emotion at all this week, given all that's surrounding this game?
You know what? I don't think so, because there's so many weeks that there's familiarity with the opponents. There's, Aubrey Pleasant is a really close friend of mine who's coaching on the opposing staff. A lot of great history with Jared Goff. Matthew has some history. Michael Brockers, so there's a lot of guys. But that's a pretty frequent occurrence because this league is so small, and you realize what a blessing it is to be involved in it. I don't think you want to not acknowledge it. You ask guys how they're feeling. I can't tell them how they should feel. Hey, how do you feel about it? But I think our guys also know that, hey, it's about being able to play the Rams versus the Lions, our offense versus their defense versus our offense, special teams, matchups, all those different things that you talk about are the keys to being able to win as a team, and that's what we're going to focus on this week.
That's funny. I guess every week in the NFL could be a revenge game.
You can make the narrative whatever you want, but I think that's a positive thing. You realize you've been fortunate enough to be in this league good amount of time when every single week it seems like you're coaching against a close friend that's a coach. You're coaching against a player that you have a great relationship with and a lot of good memories, and those are things that are pretty normal.
Since it is Monday night, on a recent Monday Night Football Manning cast, actually, I jotted this down because I'd love to get your perspective on going no huddle and tempo. So here's the quote from Nick Saban, who was the guest. He said, "I can't understand why anyone gets in the huddle anymore. It's so much more difficult to play defense. Meantime, the Eagles are in real time on the ball in the red zone, and they end up scoring a touchdown," as he's saying this. So as someone who utilizes no huddle and pace to his advantage so well, when does it make sense to huddle and stay on the ball, and why is it important to kind of change the tempo with which you operate on defense?
Well, I think that it's definitely a valuable part of your offense, but I think you want to look at it like if you're always doing that, number one, for your team, if you're not successful, you sure as heck put your defense back on the grass really quickly. So there's a totality when you look at how do we want to win as a football team. But the way that I look at it is I think you want to try to keep a defense on their heels by mixing up your pitches. It's like you think about when Greg Maddux was really humming. He had about 4 to 5 different types of pitches that he could activate to a batter that really kept him off balance. And I think that's the way you want to look at your phases and your tempo offensively. Hey, we might break the huddle and snap the ball quickly. We might break the huddle and use a regulated cadence and have 2 plays called. We might go up-tempo and snap the ball quickly. We might go up-tempo and have a couple different things that we can get to at the line of scrimmage. And I think for us, it's being able to mix and match, kind of like Greg Maddux changing up his speeds or changing up his pitches so that they can't ever really settle in, and you don't know when those different things are coming. And there's different reasons to activate tempo. There's a lot of benefits to it. I know that it's a problem for defenses to get into, to deal with. But I think like anything else, Coach Saban has done a pretty good job adjusting. They've been pretty damn good defensively defending teams that run that tempo.
That's your point. If it's a 3-and-out, it's not too hard to deal with.
Yeah, you put the defense back onto the grass in 30 seconds. I know DeMarco Farr's looking at me like, hey, what the hell are we doing, man?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'll stop it now. I'll get it going. But I think the teams that go fast, the ones that can change their cadence, that's when it's unstoppable.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you go fast and have the same snap count, eventually Aaron's going to beat you. But
totally.
If you can change it up, you've got issues. But yeah, I think it should be outlawed.
Yeah,
the trap, the draw, all that stuff should be outlawed.
Yeah, well, you know what? You should have moved your front a little bit more, man. You can't just be sitting in those static front mechanisms.
Come on, man. Challenge me. Come at me.
Scorigami ever cross your radar? Do you know what scorigami is?
No.
It's when the final score of a game has never been recorded. And yesterday in the Meadowlands, the Rams' 38-11 victory was the 1,067th unique score in NFL history.
Who actually keeps track of that?
Scorigami does.
Scorigami, nice.
You can use your
That's
Twitter
gotta
burner
be an
to
automated
follow scoreboard.
Okay.
Scorigami.
38-11.
There's never been a 38-11.
That was the first time.
Hey,
wow.
Until yesterday.
A double punt and a 38-11. Wow. All in 1 year.
It's great information.
Big stuff.
Good to see you, Sean. Thanks for spending time with us tonight, 5-1. We will see you at SoFi Stadium when the Lions come to town. For DeMarco Farr, I'm JB Long. This, the Coach McVay Show.